Hey, what's up guys? It's Reed Young, aka Shuda here. I'm going to go through a hand posted in Middle Stakes No Limit Hold'em because I think it illustrates a pretty cool concept that a lot of people I have found kind of have trouble wrapping their minds around, and with good reason because it's pretty confusing, I think, especially at first. So let's check out this hand and then we'll talk about the concept I'm addressing. So it's folded around to the hero and the cutoff. He opens to 25. We're playing 5-5, no limit at a full ring table. We're about 200 big blinds effective, it looks like. So I guess the open size is fine for like a live game where you expect a lot more people just to call pre-flop and be a little bit more splashy. And then deep stacked opening to a larger size isn't really going to be that bad. Traditionally, I'd probably open a bit smaller just so you don't have to risk so much to only win $10 pre-flop, but I think it's okay. The button calls and both the blinds fold. So we're heads up to the flop, and I guess there's going to be 60 bucks in the pot. It comes 7, 9, 10, and hero bets 35, which I think is a mistake. It's a little bit small. Also, I'm not really sure why he's saying there's 55 in the pot if it's 5-5, unless I'm retarded at counting. No, I guess pretty sure that's right. Anyway, 35 is pretty small because this board is going to have a pretty inelastic calling range, and by that I mean when we bet, it's very unlikely that our bet size is going to determine how our opponent reacts. So if he has Queen Jack, as long as we're betting like pot or worse, it's very likely that he's just going to flat or raise with a similar frequency to if we bet 35. Now you might be saying like, okay, well, why not risk less to win more? And what you can do is actually bet larger here because a lot of our range that we want to bet is going to have pretty good equity against that calling range. We'll be able to barrel a little bit more effectively and put our opponent to a bigger test post-flop. So just don't bluff as often and you can get more money in the pot with your good hands. So if you did want to be bluffing a ton more, betting a smaller size like this might be a better idea, but you're not going to get as much value from all those hands that are going to be drawing against you anyway. So you can weigh the pros and cons yourself, figure out the best bet sizing that's going to work against your opponent and in general. So, but I would recommend in general betting larger on draw heavy boards like this one because you're just going to get more value from weaker hands. So we bet. Villain calls. The turn's an offsuit 3, and he's a little confused here. I think betting again is fine a lot of the time. You could check call. I don't really like that because it's kind of tough to navigate a lot of rivers. Any club, any card that doesn't give us a straight, our opponent's going to play against our hand pretty well. He's probably not value betting a 9 or most 9s on the turn when check 2, but a 10 he would almost certainly be value betting, and anything relatively thin he's going to be value betting. So it's going to be pretty tough for us to hero call and be confident in our opponent's range on the river. Additionally, he kind of controls the sizing at that point, and that's never a good idea because if we're check calling the turn and he is astute enough to overbet there with a balanced range, it's going to put us in a really tough spot. So since we do have a lot of equity and check calling kind of is a crappy situation, we can just go ahead and bet again. And the nice thing about this hand is when called, we still have a decent chance to win. If we river an ace, it's going to be the best hand, and we can value bet it and balance for the times that we have a straight draw, like if we had Queen 8 or something like King Jack or Queen Jack, we could just be bluffing on the river, and so we would want to value bet with some hands that have an ace in them. So that means, the better hands to semi-bluff that have an ace in them, ace 8 is just about at the top of the list for the turn. So I would bet the turn with this hand at least most of the time. Again, I think 80 is a bit small. Sorry for the Skype sounds, you guys, but 80 is a bit small. Again, I would just be betting larger to get value from weaker hands, like 8, 9 is not going anywhere really. If your opponent has position on you, you can just blast the pot and get some value if you have a good hand. like a 10 or better really here. So yeah, we bet the turn larger than what the poster bets, which is 80. I think I'd probably bet at least 100 on the turn, given that it's 125 so far, or he says it's 125 so far. So villain calls, and here is where the kind of tricky concept comes into play on the river. It's an offsuit 5, which really doesn't help anything get there, and he's trying to figure out, like, okay, should I bet? Should I check call? Like, what's going on here? I think the answer isn't necessarily that clear, but we do beat all of the other straight draws. So if you want to bet a hand twice for value, like ace-8, kind of like a semi-bluff, and then check call, it's not a bad hand to do it with. We do beat, queen-jack, king-jack, king-queen if he's double floating it. Problems with check calling, though, are he could be turning a worse hand, or excuse me, he could be turning a better hand into a bluff. Like, he could be betting ace-jack here, for instance, if he has like ace-jack of clubs, something like that. Maybe he chose to double float with an offsuited ace-jack and just figured if we were bluffing, we would 3-barrel. So when we check to him on the river, his hand's no longer good. So if he's betting slightly better hands than our hand, check calling's going to suck. Maybe we want to take that line with something like ace-9, for instance, and expect to see some worse hands betting into us on the river in addition to his bluffs. So unless he's really going crazy with it, ace-8 probably not a check call, most of the time at least. So I would go ahead and 3-barrel, I think, a lot of the time with this hand, and that's because you want to get value from your better hands like Jack-10. So if you want to get 3 streets with hands like Jack-10, it's pretty necessary for you to bet a hand like ace-8. And then everyone, I guess, always thinks about it as, well, if I'm just bluffing with ace-8 and I know I'm going to get called, then why do I need to bluff? And really the answer is sometimes you're going to get a fold, and that's awesome. That's definitely part of the river bluff. But another part of it is showing everyone at the table, like, look, hey, I'm bluffing here some of the time. So if you do have a hand like king-9, you're probably going to have to call here, no matter what. And we can cater our value range to take advantage of that. So we bluff in proportion to the amounts of times that we want to get value from our opponent's range. And so you guys, I'm not going to do the math in this video because that's a little bit too advanced just to throw out there for free. But you guys can kind of use that as some food for thought, like how many hands should you be value betting on this river? How many hands should you therefore be bluffing? And then what does bet sizing have to do with that? I guess those are 3 main questions that if you guys can figure out the answer to that, you're going to be sitting pretty good and have a lot of poker homework to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, hit that like button, share it with a poker friend. It helps the channel grow, and I would certainly appreciate it. Alright, take care guys. Later.